everybody. My name is Kealy Spring. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. And today I have with me Tim. Tim and I were recently introduced, so I will be learning about Tim and his work with everybody else. To that end, Tim, would you mind introducing yourself and the niches you work with, kind of general locations?
Sure. My name is Tim Donovan, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a therapist, and I specialize in seeing couples and have so since 2016. And I am in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, wow, Baltimore, Maryland. I didn't even realize you were in Baltimore, Maryland. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Yeah, and so since 2016, so couples primarily, you know, in terms of, we're going to jump to this in a minute, but are there certain modalities that you like with couples since you mentioned?
Yeah, so I have really landed more on the developmental model of couple therapy. And there's a little bit of a backstory to that. I became I decided in 2016 to really transition to seeing couples, and I became certified in the Gottman method, which was really there are aspects I still love about it. It became a great foundation, a great floor. It's tons of research, and then began doing. They have the art and science of love weekend couples workshops, and I co-facilitated them with a colleague here in Maryland. And at one point, I used to go out to Seattle and help assist the as the other what we would call rovers. So, helping other couples that the Gottmans were leading for their weekend couples workshops, and then started training people also in the Gottman method. And then I will say, Keely, in 2020, I became on a quest to learn different models of couple therapy.
Uh-huh.
And so I took level one in the PACT model. And at that time, I also began doing couples intensives and then started doing work or working with neurodivergent couples, or another thing called discernment counseling, which is something that is really for couples, if you will, who are on the brink, basically deciding whether to go or to stay. And then I guess about 2022, I took some training with the developmental model, even their intensive workshops, and today I'm in their mentor group, and it's just it's this combination of differentiation, neuroscience, and attachment. It just seems really integrative.
Mm-hmm. We've heard a little bit on a different version of this podcast, the developmental model, but developmental model. It's a tongueful. It's a mouthful. Could you, though, give the audience who might be listening to this one just, you mentioned the three kind of components there, but could you give just a little bit more depth of what that might look like in a session?
So in a session, it's really trying to say, let's just say the concept of differentiation. In a sense, it's more relational. So it's really, if you will, how to be able to speak your own truth or your feelings and thoughts, even if your partner really disagrees or isn't, and sometimes that feels very threatening in a relationship. And the flip side of that is for your partner is to be able to kind of accept like you're a different person, a different background, and be able to kind of just tolerate that and maybe be understanding, but yet not even fully agree with it. And without it personalizing it and turning it into to a larger conflict.
Hmm. And you mentioned neurodivergent couples. Are there specific couple types that you tend to see more often than others?
Uh, th- I find I come through periods of different kinds of problems or couples at different times. So I will say I'll get a run on infidelity.
Yep.
Um, and then I'll have periods of I always have a smattering of more neurodivergent couples now, but sometimes I'll get a little bit more. Early on in my career, I did a lot of work with addictions and families. So I see some couples in recovery. Um, so I think if I would say, I feels like I see more distressed couples than I used to. It seems, um, and I don't know if that's just because the way my website is or how people know me or what have you.
Yeah, I was laughing a little bit because I do think the universe, like we get these themes that kind of show up for a while in our practices, and then you're like, oh, how did I specialize in infidelity? I didn't realize that that was my specialty.
And that's always kind of what's driven my training is really coming across people or situations and hitting my own ceiling and then searching out for more.
Hmm. Um, and Tim, could you just speak to, just in case somebody hasn't heard the term neurodivergent, what does that mean, in terms of, you know, those you work with?
I will say, I don't know if I have a great people definition. People use the term neurotypical, and so there's a part of me that says, aren't we all really neurodivergent? Really mean it's really how your own brain operates, processes. It's and so it's a term, it's really for people on the spectrum.
Hmm.
Um, but also, I see more people using it also for attention disorders, attention ADD or ADHD. And I'll just tell you, I just come to like the definition, if you will, especially if you have to define it,
Sure.
because that narrows it. But it just really incorporates like that. We all have to learn how to appreciate how our own brain works. And then for me, it's really thinking about it relationally with a couple because those are two operating systems in themselves, you know. And so here it's less trying to just it's more trying to get people to understand what the operating systems are and how to get them to mesh.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that definition. It's a little bit more fluid than, you know, specific, because I do think the term gets used a lot. I'm seeing it a lot more being used, and I don't know, everybody always knows what, I mean, we know in the, clinical business, but maybe not other people. So,
Yeah, I often tell people this when people say this, and I really believe this. I tell people I'm not afforded the luxury of generalizing, even if you have an issue, because how it expresses itself is really individual to individual. So you could say, well, if you're on the spectrum, you might not be good at expressing your emotions. Well, there's a flip side to that where you're really super sensitive to it and really, and so it's not a one size fits all.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Okay, so I kind of went out of order in my normal questions. So if you don't mind, I want to come back and just ask you, how did you decide to become a clinician? What was your journey to getting here?
So a long time ago, I worked what was called a mental health worker, and and that was really basically for a lot of people who were psychology students, social work students. You worked and actually there's a large one called Shepherd Pratt here in Baltimore, and so you did that when you went to school and so I did that for a while, and I thought, well, I don't want to do this. So I actually made an apprenticeship as a cook and really did that for a number of years. And then I had kids and I was really tired of working to like from basically 10 to 10 every day. And and so I thought, what else would I would do? And I had some friends who did this, and I thought, well, let me give this a shot. So I went back to school and got my graduate degree, and that really started the, if you will, the reentry into being a therapist.
Hmm. And I'm not as familiar. I mean, I'm in California, so I'm very familiar with licensing in California. What is the process for licensure there? For here, it's, 3,000 hours. You have to get them in certain buckets. Is it kind of the same thing in Maryland?
Yeah, it's very much so. I mean, I've I've heard from other people, California and New York might have one or two extra steps. Um, and but it is I forget, it's either 2 to 4,000 not mile hours of supervision, uh, and so many credits, and but it's different now because you have what's called licensed professional counselors and
Oh, LPCCs.
licensed marital and family therapists, and each one has their own licensure requirements.
Hmm. Yeah, but it seems like they're also trying to, I've noticed a little bit more of a like a national exam. I keep coming across a little bit more.
Right. Well, as you may know, the psychologists have what's called the Psi Pact.
Yeah.
And so in Maryland, the legislature just passed a law, approving reciprocity.
Ah.
But again, other states have to get in on that, where psychologists can, if you will, get licensed in Maryland and pretty much and I believe even California can see people around the country.
Yes. Yeah. It's one of those things that I feel like I'm always explaining to clients is that I can't work with them if they're in a different state.
Right.
And it is the way that California leads it up is you have to check with each individual state to see theirs. So California will allow you to work wherever, but it depends on wherever state the person is in, what their
Yeah.
rule.
And for me, I'm not that far from Washington, D.C., so I sometimes have people reach out. So I have to be, even Virginia, and be really clear, like, I, especially if I do an intensive and they come from out of state, I want them to be clear about follow-up could be very limiting.
Yeah, fair. Well, what do you like about being a clinician?
I like the independence, to be
Mhm.
honest. Uh, I'll tell you, people tell me a joke like you can make your own hours. I said it doesn't really feel that way.
This is true.
Some ways I feel like I'm working all the time.
Yeah.
But there is a certain kind of independence about when and you work or how you choose to work, who you choose to see at the same time. Um, and so that that for me is it just has always kind of resonated for me is I sometimes tell people, I said, I don't think I could ever work for anyone again. It would be kind of hard. But that's what I like. And I like the creativity of it, of being able to um, put different things together. Uh, I, I like the challenge. You have to pivot at times. Like, what do I do here? Because something comes up and people surprise you a lot.
Yeah. Well, that is a great segue to my next question, which is what is something that surprises you about therapy? Are there things that still surprise you?
Yeah, this that old adage, you think you've seen it all, and then I say, but I'm often surprised, and I'm surprised by people. Actually, I meet people from different walks of life, and maybe it's my own kind of transference, but sometimes I meet someone and I think I have probably my own judgment because they say or do something. I'm really truly impressed by it. I just didn't expect that from them. And I'm not even saying I was looking for it, but it just really landed on me. Their own death. You don't have to have a graduate degree to have death about life or issues or things. And so that's to me, it's just very, very refreshing. And sometimes just people's own commitment to work out their these days their own relational issues,
Uh-huh.
which can, depending on what it is, it can take a lot of effort and a lot of vulnerability, and that is sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah. I think oftentimes easier said than done.
Well, it's trying to be nice about it.
That's fair. That's fair. I work with couples as well, and I notice with there can be these, one person is all in on making changes, and then the other person is kind of a little resistant or hesitant, doesn't know what it's all about. Why is it important? Is it really going to be useful?
Right.
And then it's kind of this, you have to kind of figure out a way to, navigate that and
And that is one area that's really landed on me or had me gravitate to the developmental model is how motivation is really important. I think in many models there's a lot of overlap,
yes.
and there's maybe ways that you do it or the way you conceptualize it, but it really has. So I really, especially with what you're talking about, like what is that? Even like something like that, someone is out, I always figure out, well, they did show up. What was that little piece that they showed up for? Like, maybe we can start there, or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's yeah, if they're showing up, I think it's a good start. Because sometimes, I'll have a couple reach out to me and we'll try to set up a time, but it just doesn't even happen because, I can't get both people to show up. So even
Yeah.
coming in the door, as you're saying, and being there. Which speaking of, I forgot to ask you, Tim, do you do in person or virtual or hybrid?
I do a hybrid, but these days, I'm really back to 85% in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, yeah, that is, there are, that is one thing the pandemic has changed. It's opened things up geographically in a way that hadn't been so much before.
Sure, for sure. Well, so next question here is there something that you wish people knew or understood about therapy? Could be something that comes up in your personal life, when you're talking to people about what you do or professionally.
Yeah. There are a few things. One is um, I tried to instill like this really isn't just about problems, or it's really about what do you want to create? Um, how do you want to be different, if you will, in different situations? Um, and that I also really like to be able, if you can, to this is a therapy word, normalize, like really that there are challenges of just they're not there's nothing odd or they're not like their couple the people who live next door. Because a lot of times people come in and they feel like their relationship isn't going well, they have their own shame and guilt, inadequacies, and which I think in some ways also can block some things and so that's really like I try to dispel that actually is what do you want to uh, sometimes I ask people, what do you want to be talking about on the last time we meet?
Ah, oh, I like that question a lot. Yeah.
So that's and especially with couples, I often tell people that everyone's an expert on their partner.
Yes.
They
I
got that.
certainly am on mine.
They got that down. They know what to do. I have an electrician here. He's just installing something. That's the noise. And so again, they're like an expert on their partner, and they're if they only did this, and they're not always really insightful to their own contribution, which is where you have more agency with.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that comes up a lot in couples. It's redirecting back from they could be doing it differently to how are you? I see this actually even with individuals when they're talking about their partner or whatever,
Yeah,
and they're saying, oh, but if they just did it this way, everything would be fine. Then I wouldn't have my reaction, right? And there's like this, well, okay, but you are having a reaction. How do we, you're the person in the room, what part of this is your accountability or your, piece that you can affect change?
yeah.
Because usually can't doesn't go over well to tell other people what we think they should be doing all the time. That's not a
No, if you want people to clam up, that's really a great way to start out the conversation and stuff.
very solid way, for sure.
And and it's interesting, and they'll even admit sometimes in a session, yeah, I think, yeah, I would like you to help me help that person do things differently, I think. And so it just, I mean, in many ways, these are all useful things to know. They're diagnostic, they're grist for the mill, but they just, that is something that still stands out a lot for me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so final question in this kind of clinical area. Is there a tool that we could share with the audience that you use? Something that you know, kind of could share that people could maybe use or utilize?
Oh, there's a couple. So one is I got this from the Gottman method. It's just called the positive adjective checklist. It's a whole list of, you know,
I give it
and
to couples a
yeah,
lot.
and it's interesting just to use that and have them share that about the back and forth. You know, it's not going to solve everything, but it really just can change the moment,
Mhm,
and it can really be able to uh, uh, institute just a positive affect, of feeling differently. The other is there's a handout just called the gift of differentiation, which I like to give couples. And so, yeah, because I want people to be oriented to how I think too. So, if you will, we're all learning the same language. And there's another thing with that called this stages of intimacy, and it really is like a progression, like how you meet, and you can't get enough of each other, and and that changes. But it just really, again, it really just flattens out and normalizes some of the challenges. And like in any way, and that these challenges are normal. The task is to figure out how to adapt or to or how to even grow individually.
mhm.
And um, and those are a few things that and handouts only work as well as they're received. And those are like I was thinking of that beforehand. Those are three that really stand out. Or in the developmental model, there's also a tool called the initiator inquirer,
Ah,
and there's kind of like a speaker listener and what have you. But there is this really neat self-assessment form, and again, it's like on this continuum, and it's just really nice to see couples, to try it, and then they look at it, and they can kind of see where their own growth needs to be at it, and so it's a directional tool, it's a insight tool, but it's also one that really grabs the attention of a couple.
mhm.
And so that's really because sometimes you give people a handout or exercise and it just lands really flat, and you have to figure out what to do.
This is true. The first one that you mentioned, the Gottman adjectives, I often will do that early on in couples work just because I think it sets a good foundation, right? So sort of anybody watching, maybe we'll show some of these, maybe a little flash of them so that people can see what we're talking about. But and one of the ways that if people are not don't want to do the handout, I will have them incorporate it just in person. So we offer appreciations to each other. So for anybody listening or watching, it's a basically adjectives, as Tim was saying, that you come up with about your partner that you admire, appreciate, like, or whatever. Is this the same one we're talking about?
It is. And what's also really important there too, Keely, is they have a particular instance that they saw this attribute.
Yeah.
So it can't be like you're just a good mom. You're
Yeah.
just really nice. It's really like you were really good, when our daughter came home, was really upset with the grade that she got, and you're really empathetic, and that's what I find just the power in it, because it is, you're changing your focus if too.
Yes. Yes. And, I think there's this piece about making or allowing your partner to feel seen. I
Yeah,
can't tell you how many times couples will say, like, oh my God, I didn't know you noticed that, or, and they'll feel that kind of rush of connection or being seen.
exactly. And that's a really good way of that. To me, that is the underbelly of it, is feeling seen by them, because couples can say, well, of course I appreciate you. And then you could ask them, do you express that? And there's like, well, yeah, but there's a kind of sheepishness to it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Tim, thank you for answering those clinical questions. So, are you ready to be seen?
Well, we're going to find out, actually.
All right. So, to that end, first question is, what is something that's making you happy right now?
The warm weather coming about.
What are
That
summers like in Maryland? I don't know that I've been to Maryland summer.
it's well, I have to say I should really temper that because we're in this heat dome right now.
Okay, right.
So
Fair.
it's not that. I think if I were to add to that, I have two young grandkids, and so it's really. I probably shouldn't say this, but I sometimes tell people grandkids are better than kids.
Just less responsibility, but more kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah, and you show up and then you get to leave, so to
Yeah.
speak. So, and they're really excited to see you. So it's there's a vicariousness about it, There's this so that's to that. So I cherish that actually.
Yeah. You're kind of a mini celebrity in their life. They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh."
I even get smaller and smaller as it goes on as they get older. We'll
Fair.
find out.
Fair. Okay. Do you have a favorite app? Something that you like to use? Like, it doesn't have to be clinical.
Do I have favorite what?
App, like an app on your phone that you use that you enjoy.
Oh, hmm. I will say right now, um, playing solitaire or uh, uh, I like travel apps actually because they're like a fantasy. Like I'll just like I get on Swiss Air travel app and next thing I know I'm going to South Africa or something, and that's kind of like a mental getaway.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that sometimes with Zillow. Where could I live? What beautiful home could I be in? Love it. Um, Beach or mountains?
Hmm. Is it binary this?
You could say both.
It is actually both, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay, what is one thing that movies never get right?
that movies never get right.
You're watching a movie and you're like, oh, there it is again.
Um, I don't know if it's they don't get right, but there isn't always continuity.
Ah,
Like you hear something earlier in the film and it doesn't match up to later or sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, I forget there's a term for some of those things. I went to school in LA and I was around a lot of people in the film industry.
Okay.
And there's like a term for what you're talking about. Those things some sort of discrepancy where yeah, they just don't kind of follow through or some sort of mix.
The other thing is they're never as good as the book.
Yes, this is true. Yeah.
They're not as much depth of it as that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of depth and a lot of just character development and movies always cut out people or reshape the character or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that that's the extent of my movie
Fair.
criticism.
Okay, what is the best way to relax?
Hmm. I think going out to dinner outside.
Oh, okay. Enjoying that fresh air that we were kind of talking about. Minus the heat dome.
Yeah, well, I would still do it. I would do it on the water. I don't where I live in Baltimore, it's not far from the water, so I can walk down the street and I'm on the harbor and uh, so there's often a little bit of a breeze there.
Okay, so this actually goes to your travel app question or your travel app enjoyment. Is there somewhere you'd like to go travel to? Dream trip location.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of places. I would like to go to Iceland, and I would like to go to China.
Mhm.
Those are two also. There is a lot more. Actually, I'd like to go to South America too. I've always, we've talked about it, but it just never really made it happen.
Uh-huh. Yeah. For Iceland, is it partly the Northern Lights that you're hoping to see, or?
Actually, no, that's not it for me. It's more how small it is. Uh, People I've known who visited for hiking,
Mm.
uh, and it's kind of concentrated, and then there's this vast wilderness to travel through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely on my list too. Uh, okay, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, not don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's some good advice. Uh, okay, out of the four seasons, which would you say is the best?
Fall.
Okay, why fall?
It's, well, I said with all this climate change, you don't know which is which, but I like that the transition from it. It's a little cooler. They're nicer days. It's cooler nights for the most part. Um, and so and the air feels fresher.
Yeah, crisp.
Yeah.
Okay, what would be the worst superhero power to have?
Oh, worst superhero power to have. Only physical strength.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah, without any, so like Superman's strength, but nothing else. Yeah, yeah. Okay, we've got two questions left here. Is there an animal that resonates for you that you kind of gravitate towards?
I like a springbok.
What's a springbok?
A springbok is a little like a tiny, not tiny, smaller deer, and I saw them in South Africa years ago. I
Okay.
just really like the name and the shape of them, and they're in abundance down there.
Uh-huh.
And so I just animals always resonated with me.
I'll have to look those up for sure. I learned something new there. Um, okay, final question. When you look back at your life, what do you hope you'll be able to say about it?
Um, that it's been, I've learned a lot, and it's been a lot more varied than I imagined it was going to be.
Thanks. Well, thank you, Tim. You're officially seen. Hopefully it wasn't too painful.
Thanks.
And for anybody watching, I will include Tim's information as I always do. That said, Tim, is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like the audience to know that we didn't kind of touch upon?
So I am in the process of opening up a couple center called Be More Couple Center.
Very interesting.
And, and so I just really want to start training people, just not and developing it myself, and actually be a local area resource for couples and therapists. And so stay tuned.
So you said local, so it's going to be a actual physical location that people can come and
Yeah, I mean, I have that. I have my own practice and, if you will, a group room to do some things. But I imagine a lot of this will be online, but the trainings I want to do in person.
okay. All right. I love it. We definitely stay tuned and look for more information on that. You said it'd be more couples?
Yeah,
Be more.
be more sort of like a double entendre in a way. It's kind of in Baltimore. You're going to see a lot of be more.
Oh.
It's like an abbreviation for Baltimore. But
Oh,
be
okay.
more ice cream. Be more, this.
Uh, uh,
And then, as a couple, just be more.
sure. Fair enough.
Yep.
Well, thanks again, Tim. Appreciate your time and taking the time to speak with us today. And yeah, I look forward to hearing more about Be More.
All righty. And thanks, Kealy, for the opportunity. And I'll just wait to hear from you.
Sounds good.